Nada, thanks so much for coming. Tell us about your journey into retail media.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I had a non-traditional journey into retail media. My 15-year career started out right after uni, worked in marketing and started working in advertising, started out with Publicis and then moved on to Tag, which is Dentsu. And I worked across a lot of interesting clients from FMCGs to automobile in 17 different markets.
17 different markets?
Yes. So we had 17 different markets.
Wow. So you're doing a lot of traveling, you must have been.
Well, luckily they used to travel into Dubai, which was great for us. But yes, we did used to travel a lot for work, especially for brand days. And then I pivoted whereby I decided to become a pastry chef. Pastry chef.
That's a bit of a shift.
Yes. I took a year off, became a City and Guild certified chef, got yelled at, had pots thrown in my face, and then opened up my own coffee shop and ran that for 6 years. And that was
6 years.
Great. 6 years.
And whereabouts was that?
That was in Dubai. We had a very small shop, but it was our baby, basically. And it was a great experience because we got to learn everything from performance essentials, digitizing our processes, supply chain management, optimizing prices, marketing, obviously, and learning programmatic on the go, search engine optimization. And then we had to sell the business because we had to relocate to the UK. And that's when I started working at Ocado. I was lucky to have a small break in the middle. So I did learn a bit more about programmatic at Oxford, which was a great degree to do as well. And I've been at Ocado for the last 2.5 years now.
Tell us about the programmatic. Was it a degree or a qualification or?
It was a postgraduate diploma that focused on digital marketing, programmatic and AI in the UK. It touches base on a lot of the basics, but then it dives a lot into how DSPs work, how SSPs work, how auction is moving to become more standard in the market, how that applies across the walled gardens as well, like Meta and Pinterest and TikTok, and data analytics as well.
Very interesting. So all very, very relevant, no doubt. So what was it about Ocado that attracted you?
Oh, I just loved Ocado. I mean, it's truly run like a big tech company. So Ocado is online only. But the way I joined Ocado is I was a customer, loved the service. And I was like, oh, let me see if they're hiring. And they were. Fantastic team, lovely people to work with, amazing culture, and so much to go when it came to the technology. I was really impressed with all the ad tech integrations they had in the pipeline, the way they approached the market. Like we're tiny, but we actually have solutions that are so advanced that some of our bigger competitors have not adopted them yet. And yeah, I just loved it.
Okay, well, hopefully we can come on to some of that, but tell us then a little bit about your role and its scope.
So I am currently a retail media manager. I look after some of our strategic partners. So those are our partners that I wouldn't want to say favorites because all of our partners are favorites. But these are some of the clients that we are pivoting and trying some of our unique test and learn opportunities with. These are the ones that we are investing a little bit more time as well in bridging the commercial and the marketing objectives to try to help them optimize spend on Ocado, both on-site and off-site, and to help them grow their category as well.
Okay, that's really interesting. And so they can be suppliers and or media agencies, or is it primarily suppliers?
It is primary suppliers. So most of my suppliers are across the impulse industry. But we do also have partnerships with all of the media agencies, whether that is Dentsu, Publicis, and in addition to the ad tech partners. So we do work closely with the Trade Desk, with Epsilon. It's an ecosystem, really. And we try to work with everyone depending on their own objectives. So whether a client is more reliant on the agency, we work a bit closer with the agency. We have obviously a lot of client direct relationships and just trying to manage all of their objectives within the year.
So, I mean, Ocado has a well-deserved reputation for being an innovative, obviously very tech-led company, pioneer in many ways, but it's got a low market share. And a lot of people look at retail media and they say, well, it's a little bit of a winner-takes-all market, and the bigger retailers with the higher market share will do disproportionately well. So how does Ocado within retail media respond to that?
Oh, yes. I mean, we're aware. We're aware our market share is not the same as the brick and mortar stores. Mm-hmm. And we don't shy away from that fact. We know we are 2.1% of the market when it comes to traditional grocery, but we also know that we're 15% of the online grocery market. So that is quite comparable when you're looking at Sainsbury's and Tesco's, who are not too far out. Mm-hmm. And we have one of the highest NPS scores in the market. We've got an ABC One audience. We have very high loyal customer bases, and we're fully online, which means all of our data is captured. But we do have this challenge, and we understand that it's very easy for someone to say, oh, why should we consider you as part of a multi-retailer campaign when you are so small? And part of the reason is because while we are small, being digital is our superpower. So the fact that we have closed loop measurement, the fact that we could activate across the purest of first party data, that is our superpower. We don't need to rely on purchasing data to piece together data to actually understand performance. We house all of the data. We've got best in class data insight platforms, and we have a very agile team, because the fact that we are online only, it means we could test and learn, we can pivot, we could change things as we need to very quickly, which is great.
So a lot of retailers wrestle with the challenge of what is the purpose of their retail media network, because as the market has grown, these networks are bringing in big sums of money at very high margins, very, very profitable. It's very material for the P&Ls of many businesses. But there's another point of view that says, well, actually retail media can do more than that. It's really and should be a growth driver.
Yeah.
How do Ocado see retail media? How do they wrestle with that tension?
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see both sides. And I think from my end, you can't have one without the other. You can't have growth without the investment, and vice versa. And the way we approach it is, it's not really about the revenue generation, it's about value. So there's no point in us selling campaigns, activating campaigns, and then not reporting on them, or not using the data to actually improve and to change things. So going into the market and going in with like a data-led strategy mindset, that is what we focus on. And it's really all about value to our clients, whether that is the supplier and or the agency, and obviously to the customer, because that needs to translate to conversions. That needs to translate into revenue. No matter how much they say, oh yeah, we need to raise brand awareness, ultimately we're going to be asked about ROAS, we're going to be asked about conversions. So trying to take a bigger picture, step a bit back and understand the ask, how that fits within every client's wider strategies and goals, and approaching it that way, and having a very tailored approach for each client, because some are very tech savvy and some have been doing things on their own through self-serve channels that we do offer. And some are still a bit more traditional, asking, oh, what's the difference between organic and paid social? So us actually educating our clients and working very closely with them is what we're focusing on. And I believe that if we do a great job when it comes to client servicing, that's generally going to bring in the revenue naturally.
So it sounds then that you no doubt will have a big supply base and a lot of variability in the capability of those suppliers, a lot of variability in their size and how much they spend. And then I think you said that you're working on a number of what you call strategic clients. So what makes a client strategic? Is it just by dint of being big, or not necessarily?
Not necessarily. I think it is one of the factors, obviously, because they tend to be some of our bigger suppliers. But I think just focusing on the big suppliers alone does not tell a full story, because sometimes the solutions that we do work towards and the test and learn solutions that we do offer, they might not be scalable if you only test them with the big partners, and then you don't have the data and the insight from the growth partners, which we would call maybe the smaller suppliers. So I think it should be a balance of both, and that's how we approach it. But the scale of each of my strategic suppliers is so big that within every company, there are so many different brands. Some are struggling and tiny, and some are market leading. So it is really a mixed portfolio.
Do you find that you're needing to lead the suppliers and push them and explain to them where things could head, or are they in fact pushing you and asking you for?
Depends really. Some we do approach some and they're like, oh, we're good. They know what they're doing. Everything's fantastic. Others do appreciate a more handheld approach whereby we need to share a bit more insight ahead of any campaigns that we do plan. There is a rare occasion where some of our suppliers are still a bit old school. So they do, ahead of any campaign, they might ask, oh, what's the estimated CPM and what's the estimated number of impressions, which is for us an outdated way of approaching media, especially that now everything's done on auction, programmatically at scale. We try to trust the platforms to optimize. While we could give some benchmarks, it's not really the way we approach it. We're not trying to optimize for impressions. We're trying to optimize for actual link views, or it depends obviously on the campaign objective, but we're trying to optimize for conversions most of the time. So we do find ourselves sometimes where we have to do a little bit more hand-holding, but with the majority of our suppliers, I think we're getting there. It's a mix of both.
And do you think suppliers have properly understood what sponsored products, especially, and other programmatic media can do?
Yes, I think the majority do. I do realize, though, that we sometimes, especially as retailers, we speak to account managers most of the time, whether that's national account managers and some strategic partners. So there would be some discrepancy between what the account manager might know and then the brand manager might know. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to brand managers, probably not all of them are too familiar with sponsored and on-site media.
The brand managers or the
brand managers. Okay. And then vice versa. National account managers are not too familiar with programmatic advertising and social media advertising. So there is an opportunity to bridge that gap because those silos do exist within corporations themselves. But we do offer a lot of trainings, a lot of support. We do have a retail media toolkit that's available in the market to help guide all of our customers throughout all of the media types that we do offer, whether that is across sponsored on-site media, whether that is competitions that we offer, navigating HFSS, the whole lot.
I mean, we do a lot of work with retailers, and we often hear a kind of frustration that you have these silos, two parts of the organization. You have the commercial teams and you have brand agency teams, both of whom will spend big money on retail media, but they tend to view it very, very differently. And in simple terms, quite often the commercial teams are looking for a sales uplift, whereas the brand agency teams are more looking at impressions.
Yeah.
Is that still the case? Do you
Very much so, I think. It exists with almost all of our clients, and it probably is because of the scale of these companies. You do tend to have different budgets and different people looking after these things. And brand marketing, they create these fantastic assets that could easily be used across different channels to drive conversions. They just tend not to. And I don't think at this time and era it's an issue with usage rights, because the creation of assets is actually now so easy and so quick. It is simply that budgets sit quite separately in different buckets. And I think part of the issue is that those who are a bit closer to commercial, they don't put in a contingency plan or a bucket for test and learn to bridge that gap between brand activations and commercial activations. So if they were to slightly have a smaller budget to just bridge that gap, test and try to understand how they could reach those objectives for both brand objectives, commercial objectives, whether that is for launching NPDs, whether that is for rebranding of specific products, and then taking those learnings and then getting even a better activation on board. That would be great. But the silos do exist, not just with the retailers, within the agencies themselves as well.
So if it is the case, we'll just stick on this point. You've got presumably some of your bigger convenience suppliers will be amongst the world's biggest and best brand owners, advertisers, etc. But if one half of their business looks to measure retail media through a sales uplift, and the other side looks to measure it completely differently from an impressions point of view, which one is right?
I think we have to take things with a pinch of salt, because sales uplift is not always accurate. So
not even at Ocado?
Well, at Ocado it is, because we actually tell people we're not going to share ROAS when it comes to meta activations, because that is not an accurate measurement, while some other retailers might. But I think it is a bit hard because we currently don't have standardized reporting attribution models across the board, across different agencies, across different brands, and across different retailers. But when it comes to these two separate objectives, I think we try to work towards both at the same time, simultaneously. So we recognize that sometimes to unlock a campaign, we do have to promise these impressions and to optimize towards the reach. And at the same time, we know we're going to be held accountable on the lower funnel metrics. So what we try to do is to choose the right platform that we think would give us the best reach based on the targeting strategy.
When you say platform, what do you mean by?
That could be whether it's through social media, whether that is Meta, Pinterest, or TikTok, or when it comes to programmatic, whether that is to choose Epsilon or Trade Desk. So we try to, depending on the targeting strategy, because we might have a brief with a very unique targeted strategy. And then, can
you give us kind of a anonymized example of what
absolutely.
A brief might look like?
We had a supplier that was launching a new flavored sparkling water brand, and they wanted to target similar category shoppers and exclude anyone that had purchased from their brand before. So they were trying to do negative targeting and to target those people, but then at the same time, they wanted to target those that are buying into barbecues and that are buying into condiments and things that they would think would be relevant for their audiences. And we were able to do that. We ran a meta campaign at the time because it was an NPD launch. So it wasn't really too much about driving conversions at that stage. It was really about awareness. At the end of the day, we did get asked about, ROAS. We are able to report on conversions based on our data insights platform's data, but we cannot actively and confidently say anything that you saw in Meta has led to conversion, which is why we are actively working with Meta and different platforms to try to have conversion API set up and to unlock these capabilities in the market. It's not there yet, but hoping to get there.
Okay. And so on measurement, how do you help brands to know whether things are working in the way that they are looking to track it?
We try to provide in-flight optimizations wherever possible. We try to also have standardized metrics across all of our platforms. So we do share a lot of data. That is all of the platform standard data, but we also offer exposure to purchase reporting as well. So that is through Conversion API across Trade Desk, Pinterest, and a few other channels as well. And we try to also define the metrics that would be most relevant. So while a client might ask for impressions, we actually would advise, we'll report on the impressions, but look at the click-through rates and how are we going to be able to optimize the creative in the next campaign to even have better performance. So we act as in an advisory role, and at the same time, we're trying to hit all of the metrics that they're asking for.
Very interesting. And so a lot of retailers, if you've kind of followed their retail media journey, they've probably optimized for the commercial spend, and then kind of say to themselves, well, if we were able to access agency and brand spend, that's probably incremental, and therefore that becomes a little bit of a priority. And actually, we've heard that you're ahead of the game in that regard. How have you gone about that?
I think we tried to listen and to understand that clients are very different. So the approach that we took is to focus on making sure we have the right partnerships with our data partners, but to also make things available like at a to not basically be biased. So we have managed service solutions for those who prefer managed service. We've got self-serve solutions for those who prefer to do things themselves. We're brand agnostic, we're platform agnostic. So we've made our data, our platforms available for all of our suppliers equally, in addition to the agencies. And it's completely up to them to unlock these opportunities. So we do offer our strategic partners and our agencies trainings to help them utilize platforms like Trade Desk's product catalogue, which we were the first to launch in the market. So we'd offer them these solutions, and then it's completely up to them. We do realize that some clients prefer to do things on a self-serve basis. They feel like they're more in control. They think that the margin is lower. They think that they have...
I think that the margin is lower on self-serve.
On self-serve, well, some clients might think that. It depends on the scale of their investment, obviously. But what we try to do...
Presumably it's the other way around, isn't it?
Well, really, I think it depends on how much you're spending on data. It would differ a lot if you're doing regional campaigns versus very tailored and limited campaigns. I think you get more value from managed service because obviously you'll have a deeper level of reporting and insight. But then again, I think our strategy is we are here to help you and to protect the customer experience on site as well. So we want to make the data available. We want to make the platforms available. We're here to support, but we don't want to push you into one direction or the other. Ultimately, it doesn't make a difference to us. As long as the client's happy, we're happy.
Okay. And to oversimplify, on an e-com platform, which is obviously what Ocado has, so clearly there isn't any in-store, then the ad inventory, to oversimplify, tends to split between sponsored search on the one hand and display on the other. And there then can be a tension on the within the business. You're nodding, which is interesting, between the kind of the e-com team that are absolutely customer experience led, and we don't really want any display ads, thank you very much, and the retail media team that would say, well, there's clearly demand for this. How does that tension kind of play out?
It's some change is hard for everyone, and even within our company, we all have different objectives. So while we sit closer to our clients and closer to the media and that revenue stream, the e-commerce team's objective is to protect the customer experience. They want to ensure that any results displayed are relevant, highly creative, like high creative quality. And we don't want to turn into when you're shopping on Amazon and then you no longer know what you're shopping for. So it has to still protect the customer first and foremost. But at the same time, we've got 45,000 SKUs and customers add to basket in less than 30 seconds. If you're not at the very top of the customer's visibility line, you're probably not going to get into the basket unless you're in the favorites. So it is really a balance of us trying to make the case for it, open a few opportunities when it comes to biddable media through solutions like Epsilon's Citrus solution. But at the same time, encouraging our customers to also be creative with the display banners. So a lot of the display banners could be used as redirectional media towards their own shop and shops, or to optimize those to use them for competitions, like to offer specific competitions that would encourage conversions and longer customer lifetime value. So while we cannot really manage the number of the inventory that we do have, we ask for it. Until then, we try to be very creative about it.
The other thing that we observe is constant innovation in the market. Every major ad tech company is innovating its own solution set, and then there's specialist solution partners that are coming with rich media solutions and many others. And the dilemma for the retail media team is, firstly, which ones to choose.
Yeah.
And then secondly, even if they can choose well, getting them deployed can be a problem. Again, you're nodding, so it's interesting. So is that how do you prioritize innovation and perhaps talk us through any particular innovative solutions that you have?
Absolutely. I think any solution that we do adopt or would adopt or that is in the process of being adopted has to make sense for us, obviously financially, but from a customer experience, and it has to be scalable. The reality is you're limited with the number of people that can support, and you need to upskill the entire team anytime there is something new that's happening in the market. A big part of the focus was for us to leverage the quality of the first party audiences that we did have, and to offer those on a self-serve basis. So we were first in the market in the UK and I think in Europe, if I'm not mistaken, to launch product catalogue with Trade Desk. And we were one of the very first, if not one of the only big retailers to offer measurement solutions as part of product catalogue as well.
And for those that don't know, and there will be a few of those, tell us about that. What is the Trade Desk and what is the product catalogue within it?
Absolutely. So Trade Desk is one of the leading DSPs or demand side platforms in the UK. It is a platform that helps us manage instant media auctions. It leverages and filters out media by giving us access to some of the top 250 publishers in the UK. It has built-in safety rails. It's got global presence, which is fantastic. And they are one of our trusted partners because obviously anytime you have to deal with data, you have to be very, very careful on which partner you activate against. And Product Catalog is one of their very unique and, in my opinion, one of the best solutions that I've seen. It basically links a retailer's catalog, which is in our case, our 45,000 SKUs, into the DSP. And it allows our advertisers, whether that is endemics or non-endemics, to create very bespoke and custom audiences based on different events. So that could be people adding to cart based on frequency, based on timeframes, people viewing items on our website. And you could be as creative as you want, really. So you could target by, you could have tailored creative with coupon-led creative for your bottom 50% of spenders, and then something a bit more reward and loyalty based for your top 10%. And you could do this on a self-serve basis. So as long as you've got access to the DSP, you could do it from your own seat. You could also create your own pixels to do that yourself. So you could see any of the tracking, whether someone's viewed the item, added to cart, or purchased, and have very accurate ROAS and conversion attribution as well.
Very good. And you touched on non-endemic, so
yes.
Obviously brands that you're not selling on the website. Can you talk to us a little bit about that and how is that journey unfolding?
Yeah, we do work a lot with non-endemics, and I think the opportunity is there for a lot of our retailers. And I think many of our competitors have been exploring this route as well. For us, a lot of opportunity comes through non-endemics. For example, Shark Ninja might be interested in when they're launching their new coffee machine brands, they might be interested in finding products that are purchasing products that are relevant. So that is purchasing coffee beans instead of instant coffee, and syrups, and also leveraging audiences, knowing that our audiences are high spenders and they are ABC1 audiences. So obviously they don't get any measurement because we don't sell the machines ourselves. But they do see a lot of value when it comes to running these retailer campaigns. And they do work with a lot of the retailers simultaneously. So they run these national campaigns, whether that's Shark, whether that's Disney, you name it.
And what other categories of non-endemic products do you sell?
Well, it's mostly everything is fair game except for anything that might be a bit sensitive. So anything that has to do with medication, because you should not be able to target anyone based on their ailments or based on the medication that they buy on our website. You cannot target by religion, so not someone that is buying through specific categories. And we tend to not advertise to new families as well, just because they are at a more critical point in their life. So just part of our own ethical practices, we tend not to.
But would you have clients in, I don't know, travel and...
Yeah.
Okay. And so how do they show up then on the site? So, if I guess what I'm trying to understand or help people to understand is if I type in cereals, let's say, then I might expect to see a list of cereals, perhaps relevant to me based on what you know about me. But I wouldn't expect to see a British Airways ad pop up. Or so where do the ads show up?
So a lot of the non-endemics would appear off-site. So those would appear on either the own advertiser seat using our data. So it could be British Airways or targeting you as a user across different placements, whether that is digital out of home or connected TV across Netflix and Disney, with an ad that would be tailored to you. Or throughout our checkout walk at the very end, when you do check out, you might be able to see an ad that says, try this subscription face cream and get some results. But obviously on our website, we do not have any non-endemics. And then you might be able to, for example, if you are buying into a specific category, for example, cereal, as an advertiser, you might go in and create bespoke audiences of those buying into the cereal category, or you could buy into those that are buying specific brands, whether that is Kellogg's, whether that's specific brands like Bran Flakes, and create very bespoke creative as well that way.
Very interesting. So thinking ahead, you've had a very interesting career to date, but have you set yourself any particular longer term goals?
I mean, I've been lucky to just have the experience that I have so far. And I loved working with the ad tech integration side of the business, but I'm really excited about now working closer with the clients. Looking forward, I would love the career to blend both. So working a bit closer with the walled gardens, trying to understand if there is anything that we could offer in terms of testing to bring down those barriers when it comes to reporting specifically, and just seeing how things go in the market. I mean, programmatic was not around when I first started. And I think it's still relatively new for a lot of people in the market. I'm just excited to see what's to come.
Very good. And if there's any of your suppliers watching that haven't yet made it onto, let's say the strategic suppliers list, what advice would you give them?
I would just say be open to change. I know no one really loves change, and we are creatures of habit, but I think having a test and learn mindset is key. It does not matter how small or big you are. It really is about the willingness to try something new. It's the willingness to adopt new technology. And I think honesty is the best policy. Sometimes it's way easier for us to know the budget ahead of time, because then we can actually tailor creatives and campaigns to you through the budgets, try to understand your objectives, and just, transparency and helping us have these discussions within the team, whether that is with your agencies, with your brand marketing team. No is always an answer, but, we have to explore things and try to work closer together.
Great, Nada. Thanks so much. That was really interesting, very helpful. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. Thanks so much.
You're very welcome.